Yo! Video games.
So yeah, we just got out. We saw Sonic 2. This is gonna be like a fresh review.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is like we got home kind of thing.
Indeed.
My initial thoughts are I actually really liked it.
Yep.
I thought it was way better than the first movie. There was, I think, on almost every conceivable, like there's one caveat, but like every conceivable level, it was a marked improvement. I actually laughed at this one more
Yeah.
than the first one, and this one actually has way more like action and drama than the first one. But like I actually laughed at some of the stuff, and some of the stuff is like.
And it wasn't even Sonic related, too. The stuff we were laughing at. We were laughing at some of the,
it was both.
You know,
it was really both. Yeah. There was just really good character moments, really good like just humorous moments, but there was also like really like specific, like this is funny to a Sonic person. Other people will just kind of be like, oh, whatever, right? The more Olive Garden jokes. Well, we're not in spoiler talk yet, but
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to like go into detail on exactly what the jokes were, because hey, what fun's a joke if you explain it?
Exactly. Right. It's like the trailers, right? Where you watch, where they do a joke in the trailer, and then you go watch the movie, and you know you heard the joke 50,000 times, and they said in the movie.
Yeah, they did some clever fake outs. I will say this, like in the trailer where you think they actually played.
Same like as
they twisted the order of events and stuff
with the Avengers.
Yeah, I guess a little bit like
level,
that.
Like where you see the trailer and like, wait, I never saw that part in the movie.
Yeah, or like they play like lines in the trailer way out of order or in different parts of the movie. So like they do like they did a really good job of like sort of like twisting the narrative a little bit. So that was actually kind of cool. Kind of cool to see. So yeah. Right now we're in no spoiler talk. I have a spoiler talk, and when I do, you'll see it'll say big spoilers on the bottom. I'll switch orders.
We'll let you know.
But yeah, I probably would say this is probably the best video game movie. It's kind of in their contention with the OG Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Where OG Mortal Kombat is great, except for the fact that there's just no gore, which is like such a key part of the games. But it's like, so it's kind of like it's in this, and there is definitely one thing in this movie that I will say that is like very much missing. That is a core aspect of Sonic that's not in this movie at all. We'll get to that though. But yeah, I think it's definitely up there in that sort of like this feels like I'll say this: it feels like a movie that was written by people who know about Sonic and like Sonic.
And what I think too, it's like, they did the first one, right? They changed it and they made it actually good because we had Sonic before, and they're like, they saw the reaction, and then it seemed like wow, people loved it. Which is very rare. It's like, let's do it better, right? So they probably got more people who are really into the Sonic world, and you can tell that definitely. And like you said, that was missing. There was one thing that was kind of missing for sure. But like everything else was just done super well and super like they knew what they were doing. They did their homework.
Yeah, like the first movie felt like it was more or less just like remaking like a movie like Hop. With the same actor and like okay, we're just
100%.
The first movie felt a little bit like it's just kind of like this very by the numbers, like we're gonna have a cartoon character, CG character interacting, and it's just gonna be this very much a like the first movie had its charm and it sort of broke through what it was, but the whole first movie has this big feeling of this was a babysitter film, where we made this to basically be a babysitting movie. It takes place in like a small town in Montana, and there's this young hot sheriff and his young hot wife, and they adopt this CG cartoon character, and they get in shenanigans. They go on a buddy road trip. So there's a lot of like that was the first movie. This movie felt like we're making fucking Avengers.
Yeah.
For Sonic, but with Sonic the Hedgehog. So that was actually kind of really interesting to see. Like I will say this, like, and it's not too spoiler, but it's like they felt like they really broadened the scope of number of locations and what they're doing and like what is going on in the movie. It feels like a much bigger, like this is very much like, hey, this is like you know, when you talk about like an Indiana Jones or an Avengers, but you want to talk about for like maybe a 5-year-old who maybe that PG-13's pushing it a little bit.
Yeah.
This is like this is like for them. This is like the
100%.
same kind of like level of stakes and an adventure as a classic PG-13 like film, like an MCU or an Indiana Jones. When you like Star Wars is a little more PG than PG-13. But yeah, like I don't even know what this. I think it's PG because someone says hell at some point in the movie.
Yeah, hell, and they push the swear, like it's not swears, but it's like
yeah,
close. Yeah, it's funny.
They do a whole bunch. Not a whole bunch. But like, yeah,
like,
yeah,
Chicago, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, so yeah, Star Wars is very PG, you know, but until like episode 3 when it's just sort of like edgy because it has to be. But like like this is kind of like in that vein of like, you know, if it's something you got to like really think about. I think is that put yourself in a 5-year-old's mindset, and I don't know if you saw it, but like way down in front of us, there was this kid who was like, when they were doing the actiony moments, the kid was like hyping himself up in the chair.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then at the end there was a part where he literally like went up and like went like this, like you fist pumped the air, like he was like that, and like that's what you want to see, right? Like that is, you know,
which is surprising because, you know, like I was saying, there's not a lot of Sonic games, right? And
well, there's not been a lot of recent, like it used to be like they came out once a year or like every other year, and it's been 4 years since Forces, and Forces was a big dud, and you know, so it was kind of like it's been hanging on Mania for a while. So
oh yeah, no, exactly. So it's kind of, you know, like when a Mario movie comes out, you could expect to see, you know, thousands of kids everywhere, right? Because Mario's just continuously, you know, he's like Mickey Mouse, like during its prime. He's just constantly there, right? Sonic kind of comes in and comes out. But, you know, you said there was a lot of kids and they were like hyped. They're like, yeah, you know, one kid had his like Knuckles backpack or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, man, okay, that's cool. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, a lot of young kids were getting hyped, and, you know, us oldies were like, oh, dude, look at that reference. Oh, snap. Okay, that was cool.
It was kind of nice to see sort of like how there's definitely kind of like a little bit of something for everyone.
Yeah.
In the movie. And it's funny how this movie, I think, correctly, not, you know, some people will disagree, but I actually kind of enjoyed it a little bit, but it correctly balanced the Sonic characters and the human characters.
Yeah.
Like there's times like it'll cut back to a human character and you're like, oh no, a human character, but then it's actually kind of funny, or they actually give them something to do that's actually not entirely pointless. So so it feels a little bit like, oh, okay, we're actually tying something into this. Oh, we're making this part of the plot.
And like I have to agree, like this movie is like one of the only movies that does that whole human aspect actually really well, where you're not like, oh, you know, like of course maybe it's so that you want to see Sonic, but the parts where the humans are in it, they're actually funny. They're actually, you know, like, oh wow, it doesn't like, you know, slow down the movie to a drag like other movies, like you said, like Hop or whatever, like Smurfs or any of those movies. Are just, okay, here's the human parts, and it's awkward, it's cringy, and this actually, the comedy's super funny when the humans are just around. So you know, it balanced both, you know, and we'll see maybe in the next one they can go less humans because the movie's
I mean it's
but like I like the parts with the humans.
It feels like there's a weird, like, it almost feels like there's like this some weird like magic with this movie. Like I'm like, why does this movie work? Why is this good? And I'm almost like scared of them doing more, because I'm like, oh god, no. I'm like, oh, I'm afraid now we've made a good thing, you know. Of course I have to exploit it, you know. But like, like, because, you know, they made like what, 4 Alvin and the Chipmunk movies or whatever. Like, I didn't see any of them. I saw well, one part 3, like the shipwrecked one. I'm sorry, Chipwrecked was on when I had to do
cool stuff?
Like menial stuff. No, like teacher stuff, like in the background, where it's like it was the end. It was like the end of the school year, and you have to do like like cleaning and filing and like reporting or whatever, and like just basically like bullshit stuff. And so like they're like, oh, have the kids watch a movie while this is happening, and you go do this other thing. And Shipwreck's on, so I'm not really watching. I just sort of hear it going on in the background. I'm like, this movie's cancer. Like, I'm not even watching it, and I want to kill myself. So yeah, this doesn't actually have that at all. Like it's which is, again, I feel like that's kind of what part one was. Part one was like a surprise success because it came out of that really shitty Alvin and the Chipmunks Yogi Bear CG mold.
All that stuff, yeah.
And this one feels more kind of like we're like someone at Paramount or got through to Paramount. I'm like, no, this is your Avengers. It's for a younger set, absolutely, but like, this is your Marvel. Like this. So for me, I actually thought it's very weird because like. I actually kind of enjoyed this on the level of an MCU film.
Yeah,
like an event, like the first Avengers.
Yeah,
it was about on that level for me. That probably has a lot to do with the fact that I'm like, I have more
knowledge. I know more than you, kid.
Well, it's more like I've been with this franchise from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like
and you followed through.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's hard for anyone to have been there since the first Avengers comic book, way back in like 1960 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And like avidly read and followed everything Marvel related all the way up until the Avengers film. Like, this is interesting because for me, it's like I was there when this was brand new. I had issue number 1 of Archie Sonic comics. I was there from the beginning. As the wall on my background probably points out a little blatantly. So for me, it was kind of like and the thing is, I've not been in love with Sonic for a very long time. Like,
but you love it like a child. You can when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, and you let it know, right? And it's not like one of those people, you gotta love everything. You gotta love colors, and you gotta love.
And I don't, because like. I kind of fell out of love with Sonic during the Dreamcast, and then I mildly enjoy some stuff. Colors I thought was pretty good. Generations is good. Mania is incredible, of course, but like more. I actually don't enjoy. I enjoy less Sonic games than I enjoy, because like when you think about the entire library of them, how many there are, I like a lot less of them than I do like. So, or just most of them I'm actually not a huge fan of. But at the same time, like, though, I am here. I have been here since the beginning. So, I think that sort of I want to say cognitive dissonance is what's happening a bit with the. What would I say, the reviewers? Because like I think if you look on the review on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 66 or something, or like a low 60s, and it's got like a 90 something audience score. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I actually don't know if I remember the last time I've seen such a disproportionate split between critic and audience. Strangely enough, I do remember seeing that in the opposite way with Last Jedi, and then kind of reversed with Rise of Skywalker, where like more people liked Rise of Skywalker than the critics, and the critics critics were like falling over themselves for Last Jedi, and the audiences hated it. So this is actually kind of like that weird thing. I'm kind of like reminded of, almost in a weird sort of way. It's kind of like, what do you think this is? And I'm just reminded of that last line in the Joker movie where he's just sitting there in the with the therapist in the jail, and he's just kind of like, you wouldn't get it. Like, that's just kind of like the thing, like, why does this movie resonate? And I'm like, I don't know, you had to be there. So I mean, I think if maybe you didn't grow up at all with anything Sonic, you know nothing about it, or maybe you're young and you didn't do it, or you're old and you didn't know it, maybe this, I kind of keep going back and forth of like, how does this feel to someone who doesn't have the history with the franchise? I'm like, probably, I don't know, maybe not. I still think it's pretty good, though. I still think I still think it hits its mark. I still think it's a well done enough movie. I don't know that necessarily, but on the other hand, why the hell would you go see a movie called Sonic the Hedgehog 2 if you weren't somewhat familiar with the source material.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like this isn't even the first one or a reintroduction. This is part two, you know. Like so yeah, I don't know. Like it's a weird thing to say. Like, well, how is this for someone who's not familiar with the franchise? I say it's still pretty good, but
Yeah.
I think
No,
I think
I would say it's great. It's way better than Alvin and the Chipmunks and all those other weird movies. Because, like I said, the non Sonic parts were well done, well acted, were funny. And it's like all those other movies are cringe, right? So, like, let's say, Mom, I want to see the movie with the blue guy, right? You can, I think, you can get straight to the point. You can see Jim Carrey be 1990s Jim Carrey.
yeah,
Um,
and I remember, my poor father one time had to go see Secret of the Ooze twice in the theater
oh,
in one day because I was asleep when he took my younger brother, or I'm sorry, my older brother, and when I woke up, my brother got back and all he did was taunt and torture me
oh,
about how awesome the movie was, and I was just devastated. My dad was like, "Get in the car, I'll take you to go see it." So he had to go see it, and then like years and years later, like recently, I saw it on TV, and I was watching it. I'm like, this movie is pure trash.
mhm.
like I think you can make an argument for the first Turtles movie being pretty good, but the second movie is
Oh, yeah.
garbage. And I remember like
That's because
thinking in my head
parents
like,
were afraid, like, no, they can't be violent and they can't
right,
have,
yeah, a
they
fellow
can't fight.
chucker, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, there was like some things in there where like I think back to like, okay, my poor dad had to watch this terrible movie twice in a row. And I remember there was another time where we went and saw a double feature, and in one it was this. I've mentioned it before. There were like the first movie was this weird animated sequel to Snow White, but it wasn't done by Disney. Non-Disney animated sequel to Snow White. I don't know, like some happily like some I forget what
Oh,
it's called.
yeah.
It wasn't Happily Ever After. It was something else. Twice Upon a Time or something. I don't remember what it was called. It was terrible. That's all I remember about it. The most thing I remember was that it was garbage. But the second movie was Mask of the Phantasm, and I remember being very, being a kid and being like, we're in in the swimming pool later. I'm like, so I'm like, what do you think, Dad? It's like, well, I like the second movie, and I like the first. I'm like, yeah, I didn't like the first either. And I remember it was kind of like being young and kind of like already developing a critical eye. Where I'm like, here's this movie for kids, and here's this movie that's technically for kids, Mask of the Phantasm, sort of. And knowing that Mask of the Phantasm is just on a whole nother level. So I don't know. I look at Sonic 2 and I just think, without spoilers, I'm just like, I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is bad for non fans either. I don't think they're going to get nearly as much out of it, but I think
Yeah, exactly.
you think it's all the locales and all the things and all the stuff that happens. This is at least entertaining.
Yes.
For complete, completely out of the loop people. So I'm actually a little surprised by the critical score a little bit, I should say,
Yeah.
just in general, because I'm like,
It's funny because, yeah, it's something like you don't need to know the Sonic lore. You could kind of, like, what's going on? Why? It's like, yeah, they're being a little harsh. I think they're almost like on Pixar level of where they can provide entertainment for the adults and children. Like, I think this movie does it both well. It balances it well. And I would put this up with like a good Pixar or a good Disney film because it balances both. You saw the little kids getting all hype and all that stuff, and it was making us old folks laugh at stuff that didn't even have to do with Sonic, which was the human parts of it.
yeah. So yeah, that's sort of like that. I don't know. Do you have anything to add non-spoilery to it, or like, like before we dive
Yeah,
into?
like I've seen some reviews and people said like, oh, the parts were like I've said it a bunch of times, where the parts um, where there's non-Sonic stuff or like a point in the middle of the movie, but I think that was done actually well, and it was actually funny that it kept me kind of entertained. Like, of what I have liked to see in all, and like, because I think it's like with those Sonic movies or games where it just gets all into Sonic and gets way into Sonic lore, and it just like gets way too just out of left field, right? Where you get like Sonic and falling in love with a girl. Like, I didn't get to a lot of those Sonics, but like some of it just gets kind of way out there, and the human stuff I think ties it down well. and stuff like that.
It gets bad. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, it gets really bad.
The Sonic lore gets bad. It got really bad
Yeah.
really quickly.
Yeah. So, yeah,
in the games we're talking about. Like,
yeah, in the games, yeah.
Like in the game.
In the
canon.
movie, it was done fantastic. Like we couldn't tell because like I played the first few Sonics, played the one on the Dreamcast, and I didn't really go beyond too much of those. So I was like, me and Steve went to Simmons, like, hey, was that Owl stuff like part of the game lore? He's like, oh no. I'm like, oh okay, well the Owl lore was done really well.
Yeah, and that's in the first movie. It's not really spoiler. Like just sort of
Yeah.
like there's an owl in the first movie. And it's like, is that from the games? No, like the owl stuff's not.
Ooh. And then we could talk about another thing too. We will talk about like the performances. Like Idris Elba was fantastic.
Yeah,
He was really good. Did an amazing job as Knuckles. But another thing too, where I'll be hypocritical. I really love Tails, and she's done Tails for a long time, and is just. She's a actual voice actress.
yeah.
Which was actually nice
Colleen O'Shanahy, I believe is how you pronounce her last name.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
she was amazing, and a lot of heart in her character too. I was like, oh man, that it hit me.
Yeah, so that was actually nice. Idris is, I mean, it's Idris, but he's a little off. So he's doing a little bit with his voice to try to not be like, oh, I'm Idris Elba, and I'm from the hard part of London. It's not like his natural voice.
Correct. He was, and I'll have to compare it, but we compared him a lot to Drax. From
Musclebound. I mean, he's not
Musclebound meet Head.
He's not air like okay, like in the Sonic Boom and some of the Sonic games, he's like practically airheaded. He's not airheaded in this. It gets closer to something like Drax. Jim Carrey is great as Robotnik, but it is Jim Carrey playing Robotnik.
Oh yeah, it's 100%. It's
There was a couple moments where he rolled his R's, which I was very happy with. I don't know if that was intentionally a nod or just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, but it was like it was kind of a nice sort of. It felt like a nod back to the original voice of Robotnik, who always rolled his R's with everything. So that was like kind of like a fun little nod. There was it's hard to tell if it was or wasn't, but so that was good. Like again, like the there is a you were having a good time. There is one character who's very much a side human character, who definitely steals the show when this character is on screen doing stuff.
It's funny because the plots are silly. It was so silly, but it was funny. It was like funny enough, silly and believably silly, right?
Yeah, every so often the game, or I'm sorry, the movie kind of reminds you, hey, this is
a really silly movie.
Hey, this is a movie for kids. Every so often it kind of ropes you back in, and you might be like, oh, well, that's it's fun. It's a fun kids movie. Like it's a little bit like we're jumping out of the plane in a raft and we're gonna ski down the mountain.
Yeah.
Like hold up, don't get too ahead of yourself. We are making a movie about big giant cartoon CG animals.
Yeah.
so yeah, like that happens every so often where kind of movie reminds you, hey, this is a fun movie. I will say there's a couple moments where the effects don't look great.
Yeah.
There was like one shot that was like so clearly green screen and it looked like they were just sitting in front of a frozen photograph.
Yeah.
In particular, where whatever, like there's a scene where a human actor is standing clearly on a green screen, and it looks like the photo froze on the green screen.
Yeah, there was a few times where the effects were fantastic. They were like, dang, they were really good.
Yeah.
And other times where they were like, like, yeah, there was something like they were behind budget or they had a little bit of time. But other than that, it was there was some give or take in there.
And there's a lot more effects in this, way more effects in this movie than the first one. They go really ham on it, which is cool to see. But yeah, as far as that goes, like yeah, I do just enjoy the fact that they did go. Some of the stuff you can tell they went on location. Some stuff is obviously not probably on location, but like it was kind of nice to just see that there was variety in the film.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. And then on spoiler talk, there'll be some spots like, man, I wish they would have went here, they would have went there, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. As far as all that goes, I'm trying to think if there's any other sort of like general complaints in the first one. I think okay. Well, as far as like Sonic himself goes, I'm actually okay with Ben Schwartz, because he is playing a younger Sonic, and the movie is cognizant of that fact. This is not an older teen Sonic who's been around and like he's been fighting Robotnik for years. Like this is like he's young, and he's still a kid, and like he's still growing up. So I think Ben does a good job.
100%.
In this spot, and Idris is good as Knuckles, and Tails is good. Tails is good because like you really didn't need to hire some giant celebrity to be. I mean, like I'm sure there were
Cameron Diaz, as Tails.
I'm sure Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails all could have been done with just regular VOs, and it would have been fine.
I think so. Yeah.
But I think it was nice that at least. For Tails, they get Colleen back. It doesn't, it's not like this constant distracting thing where it's like, oh God.
Because we were watching those trailers and it's like,
Well, it's like, can you imagine if like Sarah Silverman was Tails' voice?
Right.
You're just constantly reminded that like, Ben Schwartz is having, a sarcastic, conversation with Sarah Silverman.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Just constantly reminded of that, or Chris Pratt, of course. There's the big her. There's the joke.
I'd like to see more of a mix nowadays. Like I'm saying, I'd like to see more of a mix, especially in movies like this. And this was nice.
Yeah, and here's a weird thing to say. I don't know because I mean, it's coming up and it's all CG, but like I think I think the Mario movie has some big shoes to fill now.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I mean, it's cool that. It's cool that Mario's doing the all animated route. I mean, because they did the all live action route one time, and look how that turned out. But like, yeah, it's actually got some weirdly big shoes to fill, and I don't know that it can do it. And it's hard to say. Well, we know nothing about that movie because I do think it is not going to be following much of the game's plot. It's going to be very loosely following the game's plot. I don't know. Mario's a weird one. Because
it's tough. Like these like video game movies are very tough. Like Sonic is kind of like is tough, but they went the human and CG route, and it worked, right? It's I don't know. It's a lot of Hollywood being afraid, right? Well, do we just make a movie and it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Pixar does it, and I don't know why Hollywood is so afraid of it when when companies like Pixar do a whole CG movie without any humans in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And it's Illumination, who don't have the best track record of anything. And
yeah, I mean, we saw like what their other films were. There's like a lot of Despicable Me's and other stuff like that. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But like, the thing is like this is not a movie I would be upset of having to rewatch. Like if say I had a kid and they're like, I want to watch Sonic 2 again, I'd be like, okay. This is kind of like this is cool. Let's watch Sonic 2 again. And
that's a good thing for like as an adult for a this animated feature.
Yeah. So I think non-spoiler everything I could say is I actually was really super impressed. There's one thing I'm really really not impressed with, but I feel to describe to really go into that I have to go into spoilers. So. It's not even about spoilers. It's just you'll understand.
Yeah. You'll understand. It won't spoil any of the plot, but you'll be like, "Oh, wow, there wasn't that." Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say as far as like if you know anything about Sonic, I recommend seeing it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the thing is too, I think it's more rewatchable than the first movie. Because a lot more cool action sequences, just a lot funnier, good pacing and stuff like that. So it comes out the bat swinging, which is really cool. It's like the first one is like,
That's also true. That is a good point. I mean, it's not a spoiler, but like the movie starts, I think, way comes out swinging, like you said.
Yeah.
It's got a way better going. Like the first movie's kind of really boring at the beginning. Other than that the first movie had that CG thing with the owls, as we mentioned, but like, and then after that first movie is kind of like, it's just, I'm looking at houses on Zillow.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Olive Garden, honey. Like,
Yeah. But it got paid for, and it made a good amount of money. And there was far less of that in this movie, but I think they added the joke because it was just so funny from the first time.
yeah. So
they brought it back.
I guess we can move into a spoiler talk here. So
Yeah.
Boink. We're now in spoiler mode. So
if you haven't seen it,
you can mute the stream, and when we're out of spoiler talk, I'll remove this border. So but yeah, as you see spoiler talk on there, that means we're talking spoilers.
So you've been warned.
You've been warned.
And even if this is on YouTube too, you know.
Yes, exactly. So, I guess for me, let's just get it right out of the bat. Like,
we'll start light and then go heavy. Yeah.
I would say for me, the biggest problem. Here's my biggest thing. I hate the fucking music in this movie. I hate the fact that there is no Sonic music in this movie, and there's clear fucking moments where it felt like the writers were literally like writing a scene with the intention of putting this musical cue in there, and they don't do it.
Missed opportunities.
Holy shit! Is it like the only Sonic music in the movie is a fucking ringtone?
Yeah.
On a guy's on Cyclops' cell phone.
Yeah.
It was so like, because the first movie at least started with the Hyper Potions Sonic Mania song. And then it ended with a slow piano rendition of Green Hill. This has none of that. Let me just put it to you this way. Again, we're in spoiler talk, but they musically referenced The Fucking Natural. They played the theme from The Natural in a baseball joke, but they couldn't at any point play any fucking music from Sonic the Hedgehog besides a guy's stupid cell phone going off.
Yeah,
holy shit.
Too, like the music, like the music they played, I was like, for older people, well, why not just play, you know, the Sonic music, right? At one point they played Pantera, which I thought was pretty fucking awesome, but it was kind of funny because the song's awesome. But I'm like, this music that they're playing,
it's not cheap either. They've got a ton of rap songs from the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing to me the money they spent to get all these licensed musics. And there's a scene in the snowboarding where he's it doesn't even last the whole scene. It's just a tiny fragment of the scene where it goes into Speed Force mode, and they play I forget what the song is, like a Rat Pack era song. Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra era Rat Pack era song, just for a little bit. And I'm like, why couldn't you play fucking Ice Cap Zone or something? Like, what the fuck? Like, how? And then the biggest egregious one is the fact that there's a part where Sonic's drowning, and they don't play the drowning music from Sonic at all for no fucking reason. To me, that's one of those big
Right? They added the bubble. He sucked up the air bubble, but nothing. No.
They didn't even do the little thing of. I'm like, these writers wrote these things in. These animators animated these things in, and it's almost like.
You know what it was like, Simmons? It was like Transformers. When in the Transformers 1, where they had the sound, the first transformation, and then you never heard it again.
Yeah.
You never fucking heard it again. I'm like, come on, you can play that sound mixed in with all the just put that in there. It was done once in the first film,
in the first movie,
for the first transformation, and you never heard it again. So little music and nods like that, because there was so many nods in this film. There were so many Easter eggs, so many things, but none music wise. Kind of, yeah.
And I'm not even saying it has to be from the game, but a remix, or a version to fit the scene in the movie, where they literally have them running around Labyrinth Zone, what is supposed the same aesthetics on the wall and everything, and they're not playing Labyrinth Zone music. It's just to me is the most mind blowing, frustrating thing, because it feels like the writers and the artists and the people and the set designers and everyone made it with the intention this will be a great moment to put this in. And I don't know if it is the composer's fault or if it's a Paramount Studios thing. I have a feeling it's maybe a column A, column B thing, where Paramount's like, no, you trust us. This is gonna work. People are gonna run out there and buy the soundtrack. They're gonna be reminded of all these great, rap songs from the '90s and 2000s. They're gonna. That's totally how we sell the soundtrack. Yeah. I don't know.
Right, with everything, with the poster that they did, all those nods, like having some good music, like having some music, but then they could have someone said in the chat like Hans Zimmer or somebody go in there and kick it up a notch. Could have really could have made a ton of money because I think that like you said, that's one thing that they missed. And somebody said like, no, Sonic music's amazing. Right?
Yeah, like it's,
and you can imagine like the soundtrack is kind of like a little bit of mix, but like some banging Sonic mixes. They don't see like people going to arenas to watch video game concerts.
Yeah, it's like there's a scene you see it in the trailers a lot where he's trying to save a bank robbery, and he jumps off the building and runs down, and they play It's Tricky instead of rolling around at the speed of sound. I'm like, why? Why did you go out of your way to spend all the money to have It's Tricky playing with him like running down a building and running through the city streets instead of the fucking Sonic song that was made for this? Like, why are you doing this? Whose fault is this? Right, someone's at fault.
Right? They could have been like, imagine how much money we can save. We can save, we can shave millions of dollars.
Yeah, and there was a point, because there's a wedding scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And you're kind of disappointed they didn't do it in Vegas. And I'm like, yeah, but the thing is, even if they did have the wedding in Vegas, they wouldn't play casino night music for some fucking dumb reason.
Right? I was really hoping, they'd be in Vegas, and that something would happen in Vegas, and we get a casino zone scene in, Sonic. Because we got a couple other zones, so maybe, this film is setting up another one. But I would have loved to see something going down in Vegas and get some cool, him running past the Bellagio fountains and making the water go crazy or something like that. It would have been nice.
It wouldn't even have to have been very long. It could have literally just been an establishing aerial shot of those of the characters arriving in Las Vegas and just and you just have it a little bit, play it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Couldn't have had that, and they couldn't do it anywhere in this movie. That was probably the most just mind-blowing moment for me.
Right? They could have been you walked in a casino and the band could have been playing it or something like that, and it could have been dang. It would have been something for because there's gonna be a lot of Sonic fans of all ages going to watch this. So some music. That was the last kind of Easter egg that they met, and the only one Easter egg was the damn cell phone.
Yeah, it's so weird because obviously so many other people making this movie knew and loved and wanted to fit as much Sonic love and lore. There is Sonic Riders references in this movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that I don't know if the composer just didn't want to do it, felt like it would be degrading to him if he was just throwing other people's music in there, even though there's a soundtrack of 30 billion other hits of other people's songs. In the Pantera briefly.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to me that is the one big sore spot on this movie is that and then, oh god, they played that, what was it, Uptown Funk at some point in the movie?
Yeah.
Sonic's gonna have a dance off, and and there's a part where Sonic is losing this dance off, so he goes and plugs his phone in to play his music, and it's Uptown Funk. And it's just why is it not a Sonic dance song? Why is it not a number of different Sonic? What the flaming fuck is going on here? Again, this seems like something the writer and the artists and the CG people and everyone was just kind of this will be great. They'll put some crazy Sonic song in it. Nope.
And it's funny, they make a joke in the film that actually references that stuff, because it is oh no, we gotta do the thing, and we gotta do the floss, and we gotta do that, and he's Knuckles I have no idea what you're talking about, and you were you kind of laughed at that because okay, this movie has a little bit too much of hey, the music's got to be this and the music's got to be that, and Knuckles is kind of
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So I will say this again: we're heavy into spoilers. When you get to the inevitable third act, and I think Honestly, if you're a Sonic fan, you knew Knuckles wasn't going to stay bad guy the whole movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I mean, the trailer hid that very well because you saw the plane, and they edited him off the plane.
Yes, they did. They edited. Yep. So they do a lot of really cool stuff like that. But anyways, like you knew inevitably they're going to hit the third act. Knuckles is going to switch sides, right?
Which is nice.
And honestly, everything from that point on is like it kind of goes back to something like Max has a big heart on for, and I kind of agree. It's like I really just like seeing these characters interact.
Yeah.
And it's not just like Sonic and Knuckles, they come to terms, or they come, they're buddies. It's like Knuckles' interaction with Tails are honestly sometimes more funny than they are with Sonic.
Yes. You fox.
Because he just calls him like, "Come, fox."
Yeah. I've conquered you, fox.
I have conquered your base of ball. So, yeah, like just there's a really cute scene. It's a 2-hour movie, which some of the critics saying it's way too long. It didn't need to be this long, and I'm like, there's one scene that was like unnecessary in the movie, but like they kept it in because it looked fucking cool, and that was Sonic jumping over waves.
Oh yeah.
That scene is pointless because he literally falls in and just washes up on the island he was running towards anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like that scene didn't need to exist, but it looked fucking cool, so they kept it in. But like, yeah, like it's like, oh well, you didn't need to have that baseball scene at the end. No, fuck you. Like that baseball scene to me is like,
it's great.
It's a highlight of the movie, actually. Just
yeah.
Like the arguments between Sonic and Knuckles, because Knuckles is Drax. He is 100% just Drax. He's like,
yeah,
like the object of the game is to arrive from which you started. Why would I do that? Like, why?
I'm already here. Why would I have to run back where I am? Yeah.
So that was just super fun. Yeah, like the character interaction, just hearing these characters talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Is really was really great. And they played off really really sweet between Sonic and Tails, because like,
oh yeah, that was heartwarming. It was a surprisingly heartwarming film.
Yeah,
and like I said, like the actress for Tails, she's phenomenal. She nailed it. I was like, damn, okay, the movie's got some pulls on some heartstrings, and it's really nice.
Yeah. There was they did this good thing where like there's this nice arc where it's like, what do you do with Sonic, because he found his family in the first movie, and it's like, what's his arc in this movie is that he doesn't have any friends. He has parents now he has a parental unit, and he has a little bit of growing pains with them, but he doesn't have friends, and that's what this movie's about. And like they talk about how Tails has a similar arc, and even Knuckles kind of has a similar arc too. So they have this arc where the three of these guys, these big cartoon characters, these big cartoon animals who are all supposed to be aliens from different planets, they all basically need to learn to, their arc is just learning how to become friends, and that's sort of like the antithesis of Robotnik, where he has someone who's like, he literally has a Smithers.
Oh yeah, dude, there was a couple of times we were just like, ah, you were like,
yeah, Agent Stone, or Dr. Stone, and whatever his book.
They love each other, and
like,
my children have shipped them, so like, yeah.
and well, the movie ships them pretty hard. So there's like this weird Smithers dynamic going on there, and it's like Robotnik is just such a, he's Robotnik. He's this big he's this big egotist. So it's kind of like, there's this, it's not Shakespeare, but I'm like, it's a nice little story arc, like for Sonic and Tails and Knuckles, and you see how like they don't end up like Robotnik.
Yeah. And what's hilarious too, like one of those parts you laughed at the most, that we were like, what the hell just happened during the dance off, when he's like, oh, you want the map, and he puts it in his pants, and we were like, oh, what the fuck? It's like, is this guy a furry or something? This guy is like a Sonic fan. I saw that, I was like, oh, he's like, you want the map? Here it is. We're like, oh.
That was probably the most risky it got, but
yeah, we're like,
but so there was some guy who was like, right after that scene where Sonic and Tails are bonding, was like, he was like heaving or something. Someone behind me, I could hear him. It was getting weird. You know, like when Sonic and Tails curled up by the fireplace, like. I literally heard this behind me. I was like, I don't know if he's laughing because he just doesn't. He thinks it's too sweet, or if I'm like, oh, is this I don't know, is this like a way too into it furry behind me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was probably the most, and then it stopped immediately after the scene ended. So I was just kind of like, I was like, okay, all right there, buddy. I hope that was laughter. I really do.
Yeah.
Sonic Fear, yeah.
Because let's be real. Sonic has awakened a lot of furries.
Yeah, right. And
Lola Bunny, Sonic, especially the later Sonics when like with the bat, with what was her name? Rouge.
Rouge, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, El Coyote. There's someone had like this great moment where they took that clip of Idris Elba like choking on the hot wings, and he's like, "This is Idris Elba's reaction when someone showed him concept art for Rouge the Bat in Sonic 3." He's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's, obviously, okay, so halfway through the movie, there's literally this whole thing where the wedding gets broken up because it turns out everyone at the wedding, including the husband-to-be, is an agent of gun.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm like, okay, so if you're a Sonic fan, that pretty much tells you exactly where they're going to go from there.
Yeah.
I don't really know if there's really any need to go into any more spoiler-ish talk about it from there.
Doesn't get any more, yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, here we're going. We're leaving Genesis behind already. Yeah,
Operation Catfish.
That's right.
You know what's funny? It's like it was so silly and dumb, but it was just so funny, man. It was just hilarious. Like that was really dumb. And it's like, oh, and like, you know, like they had this, you know, beautiful man like catfish her the whole time. And it was so dumb, and like, you know, what's his name? Olive Garden man is so, but it was just dumb, silly, fun, dumb.
Yeah, and that's like, they're like, is everyone in on it? And like, she like turns to the priest, and the priest is like, are you an agent too? And he's like, he opens his Bible up, there's a gun inside.
Yeah, there's a gun. Yes, it was just like laughing, but they're all tasers. Yeah, it was. Yeah, everyone was in it, but like, it was just dumb, but it was actually a lot of fun. And I've heard some other reviews like, oh, the wedding part was like, you know, bad, but I'm like, it was, you know, it was actually silly fun. Like at no point of this time I was like, oh man, it's running 2 hours, right? I was, you know, I was invested the whole time.
Yeah, and then like they even had stuff that was like not really kid, like when the wife and the bridesmaid are like trying to like break Sonic.
If you never saw him again, he was dead, dude. They threw that thing and he like shot up into the atmosphere.
Oh no, he crash landed later. He was the one who
landed later, but I'm like, dude, that dude is dead, bro.
That was one of the greatest jokes. She doesn't know what it is. She just throws something at him from Tails' backpack, and it's an anti-gravity item. So the guy reverses gravity, just floats up into the air, and they're like, is he gonna come back down? He'll be okay.
I don't know. Yeah,
he'll be all right.
Yeah, like they show him the land, but I'm like, if they never showed him land, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's dead. Yeah.
Oh man, so yeah, there's actually a lot of like not really game related to it, just still humorous, and like the part where they're trying to sneak around, and like she sees a Mai Tai on like the pool bar, and she's like, wait.
Yep. That's like an assist me choke, right? Like that would have been like, if I would have been like, yeah, Kenny gets, you know, like me eating a taco or something like that. So that was some funny stuff.
Yeah, like there actually was a lot of like non-gaming related humor. I was laughing. There was parts where I was laughing, and I think you were probably like, I don't get it, because it was like really, really dank Sonic lore.
Oh.
Like there's the part at the beginning of the movie where like Sonic falls asleep on the fishing boat, and then he falls into the water, and he goes, help me, I can't swim. And I'm just like, I'm like,
every time there was water, you were cracking up at every water joke.
Everyone, because like, it was like songs like, because they even pull an indie thing where it's like water. Why did it have to be water? And I'm like, like every Sonic fan's is like rolling here because Sonic can't swim. Like it's even in his, it shows up in his bio and later instruction manual. Was like, what's his weakness? He can't swim. And I'm like, it's kind of been this running joke with Sonic. He can't swim. So the movie just we're like, hey, that's part of his character. He can't swim.
Yeah, and those were the worst, like most anxiety-inducing parts of the game. Slowed everything down, and you had to get to the next part and breathe, and the music. So yeah, Yeah.
Just like, yeah,
So every
Sonic
time
can't
it's
swim.
water,
This is great. Like, he even has to do the thing where like he holds onto like the rock to go save Knuckles when he's like trapped underwater, and like he can't jump. Like he tries to jump. There's even this
Yeah.
little gag where he Knuckles is swimming to the surface because Knuckles can glide underwater, but like Sonic just like jumps and he can't get up, and he's just like, I'm like, oh man, it's so like. See, I'm like, this is because someone played a lot of Sonic on the
Yeah.
writing staff or whatever. And was like, oh no, trust me, this is gonna make every old school Sonic fan like roll because this motherfucker can't swim, and you always hated every water level you came across. So so I always thought that was like just really hilarious to me. Like I was laughing at every water joke, and like they try to make it like a thing where it's like, okay, they establish he can't swim early in the movie as like a part of the script. So later in the film, when you see him have to run across water or he has to jump into water to save someone, they do a really good thing where it's like, hey, no, like remember we said he can't swim? Like that's a great Easter egg, but it's more than just an Easter egg. It actually becomes part of the story. So I don't know. Like to me that was like a really. And then like that was one moment, and then there was another moment where Knuckles like is thrown off a cliff, and he glides back on, he hooks onto the walls, and he's climbing up the cliff with his Knuckles, and it's like people be like, why does he do that? I'm like, because you could literally just see it in a boardroom where like someone at Paramount going like, why would Knuckles is gonna dig his knuckles into the cliff and climb up? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why would he do that? I'm like, because that's what he does in the games. Like so it's like, yes, Knuckles does this stuff. There's parts where like briefly where Knuckles will glide or climb with his claws. I'm like, because Knuckles does that. So so like I really appreciate that part of the script stuff, and they do a lot of fun stuff where like Tails will grab Sonic and fly with him and stuff like that. So it's like, this is fantastic. Like
everyone saw the airplane, in the trailer and stuff.
Well,
like
there's that, and then there's the part where like we're near the beginning where like they have to fly off a cliff to get rid of Shake Knuckles, and like Tails grabs Sonic and he's holding him, and then they play it off later where he has to carry Knuckles, and he's like, "You're a lot heavier than Sonic because I am 1,000% muscle." Again, he's Drax. So yeah, like there's as far as like all that spoiler stuff goes, yeah, like I actually, for the people who are watching who've hopefully seen the movie with the spoiler talk, like I actually really enjoyed the nods, the Easter eggs, the references, the sort of attention to detail with his what are the characters' abilities, what do they do? Sonic actually spin dashes in the movie.
Oh yeah, he pulled that off a lot,
and he does the homing attack too when he's fighting Knuckles, at one point, and. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, they actually, not only do they know what they're doing, it feels like they actually genuinely liked, the material they were working with, which is why I say like this movie to me felt like an Avengers film. Like this is what it feels like. It feels like we built up to this moment, rather than. Here's Sonic 2. He's right? Here's Sonic 2. He's going on vacation, to Orlando. What wacky hijinks will he get in?
Yeah.
He's going. Sonic goes to, I don't know. Paramount doesn't have parks anymore, but Dollywood or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's like so far it's probably the best video game movie. Like I said, Mortal Kombat's like probably the best, but is it a good movie? No. It's good in a bad, like it's good.
It's like a good, fun, cheesy martial arts film.
Cheesy martial arts way.
But it is a little toothless though.
Yes, exactly. And this is just a straight up just good film. And they treated it with love and stuff like that. And and for it to be balanced with the humans, they did an amazing job.
Yeah, so that's kind of like where I'm at. I'm really scared for what they want to do with this going forward, because I'm like, I feel like this was such a win that I feel like we're just dooming ourselves. I know there's a series coming out focused on Knuckles.
And they asked if we would watch it, but I'm like, that's another streaming service. Like I just I have, enough already. I
Oh,
don't know if I need another.
oh, that's right. That's gonna have to be on Paramount Plus, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'm like sub to a couple streamers. I got, Disney Plus, I got Netflix, and I'm like, bro, now another, like, as much as like it would have to be something majorly I love for me to go in there and you know, subscribe to another
Yeah,
streaming service.
yeah. I mean, but the thing is, they did really make Knuckles a likable character, and then
Yeah,
I would like to see it, yes, but
exactly. Yeah, no,
ugh.
same. You know,
I did think it was funny on that day they announced it. They announced we're making Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Wait, what?
yeah.
No, they're making Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the series.
But
So
and like one thing, like it's not like it's just a review. Like I don't know. I think they can get away with just making a Sonic movie without the humans because there's a lot of we saw a lot of other cartoon, other animated features coming out and stuff, and I don't know. But I don't know. It's funny the humans give it such a good balance, right? Like without it, it would have to be a pretty well like right like could they just say, "Hey, we're gonna"? But I think it grounds the movie because, like, once you said, like, once you get too deep in Sonic lore, it just really kind of starts
well, yeah,
jumping the shark. It really starts jumping the shark.
the problem is that, and here's the one thing that is still it's far less noticeable in this movie than in the first movie, and that is the fact that a big part of classic Sonic is the zones, right?
Yeah,
And because it's set on Earth, you can't have really weird fantastical zones.
yeah,
Like they do what they can because they go to Siberia, they go to Hawaii, they go to again to the mountainous regions of Montana. And then they do throw in Labyrinth Zone because they can kind of get away. Hey, it's a hidden temple
yeah,
under the ocean. So they're able to sort of basically have Labyrinth Zone in this movie, which was kind of nice. But like,
yeah,
it is, it is a little bit of like, well, we are missing that sort of like going to these fantastical different areas. And I feel like that maybe that's just because that's just classic Sonic, and that's not really necessarily as true because both Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic '06 and even Sonic Unleashed, they all took place in just cities. There's a lot of just like he's running around skyscrapers and on rooftops and on asphalt roads, and Sonic kind of lost me a little bit with that. To be honest, like at least with Sonic Generations, you were going to like way different like types of cities, like European and Asian and whatever.
yeah,
But it looks like at least with Sonic Colors, it was kind of going back to like more fantastical zone stuff. But yeah, like it is kind of the one thing they're not going to do it without humans. Like
yeah,
even in Sonic 3, I can tell you right now, since we're still in spoiler mode, they're gonna go and they're gonna talk about Jim Carrey's grandfather.
yeah. Our father,
They're gonna talk about how he created Shadow years ago, and how
yeah,
Shadow had a bonding with Maria, Ramia Robotnik, and Maria got killed, by someone in a misunderstanding, and that's why Shadow's an edgelord, and it's gonna be all the same bullshit. Um,
just hope he doesn't have guns,
not looking forward to it.
right?
I
Yeah,
mean, okay. I have a lot of fears for Sonic 3, but I'm like, if he cocks an Uzi
yeah.
stupidly like he did in Shadow the Hedgehog, maybe that'll alleviate a bit of the pain. Um, but like
Have guns.
he doesn't have a gun. Like if Shadow rolls up on a Roadhog motorcycle and he cocks an Uzi, um, maybe I'll be okay. Um, maybe I'll be okay with the incoming stupidity. I really don't like Shadow.
See, and that's where that's what I'm saying. Where some of the lore just gets crazy silly, right? But I think the movie could ground it really well, and a couple of things that I liked. Like I liked how they bought Robotnik's vehicle from the first few Sonics.
Yeah,
I wish would have seen like a ball and chain or something like that, or some that would have been cool. Like if he, use the ball and chain to crash in there, and you see it go up or something like that. But I really like the vehicles, and some of the drones now actually look like the animals from
yeah, like
the
they had
game.
like some
So
of
those nods too. I'm like, yeah, okay, sick, awesome.
Yeah, some of the badniks like had a, like they weren't like 100%, but they were kind of like vaguely in the shape.
Like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the shape of the B, and that's the C.
Yeah, the badniks had a very basically they looked like an Apple redesign. Some of the badniks from like Sonic 1 and 2.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, like there was a lot of like love there, and he makes a big fucking like giant egg robo. Or a giant, like like it looks like it's not quite the same, but it looks like a even more massive version of Sonic 2's final boss.
Yeah, sick.
Or Doomsday Zone's boss from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like that was just kind of like, yes, I can't believe I can't believe I lived to see a day where like they were gonna spend $100 million on a Sonic movie and have a fucking egg, just a fucking egg robo or big death egg robot. It's just kind of like
great. It just looks straight out of the cart, straight out of the video game.
Yeah, and you actually caught it, which I'm glad, because like he has the Smithers character Stone. He runs a coffee shop called the Mean Bean.
The Mean Bean, yeah.
So
the Mean Bean.
So
which is pretty cool. Mean Robotnik Jam or whatever.
Yeah. So like again, tons of fun little.
And the other one, he's like, "Oh, you didn't read the guide?" And then he pulls out the guide, and it's a Sega Genesis, like
the instruction manual for the robot. It looks like an early era Genesis game with that weird '80s like
black and gray checker.
Yeah,
yeah, it was awesome. Sega case format. So I'm like, this couple of those nods were like, they're doing their homework. They know what's up.
Yeah.
Next time, give us the music.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. It's hard to say where they go from here. Do they make the Death Egg itself?
Oh, at one point, that was almost like the Death Egg. That was like that boss was like a combination of like the Death Egg and some of the bosses. And
I feel like Disney might be a little uneasy about Paramount making a Death Egg.
Oh yeah,
I don't think you need to make a Death Egg. I think if he could just make a space station. If he blows up half of the moon, like then I think we'll hit our jump the shark moment.
Yeah.
If Sonic has a weird conversation with the president in the inside of a limo with Tails, and that's another getting a little weird now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say where they go from here. I'm kind of like, honestly, I hope it's more of a globe hopping or maybe a planet hopping movie. I actually don't want it to be a sort of one-to-one remake of like Sonic Adventure, where it's just about Shadow gets awakened and he's going on a killing rampage because of Maria, and now it's all about stopping Shadow and saving the town of Green Hill once again. Okay, no, please don't make the plot about saving the town of Green Hill from the evil Hedgehog because he's mad because Maria died 50 years ago. I'm like, please don't do this, please. Like
there's gonna be a lot of Shadow fans and like, no, Simmons, we love that. That's my favorite. Like, whenever we talk about it, there's always the Shadow people that love that ish.
If anything, it's like, okay, Shadow can get awakened and he can be pissed off, but have Sonic like leave Earth and Shadow chases him like from planet to planet.
Yeah.
Like do something like that instead. Just please don't have it like end again in this quiet Montana town filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
Most likely.
This is a good, pretty town. I thought we were gonna get Metal Sonic. I thought like he was gonna use some of the shit.
Yeah, they're just kind of like, here's the thing, I don't know if they're skipping Metal Sonic or if they just maybe he'll just be another part of the movie and they're just saving it, because spoilers, Super Sonic shows up at the end of this movie. And that was the moment where I literally saw a kid like just fist pump the air and stand up. Like Super Sonic came out and I'm like, okay.
There were some kids that knew their lore because they were definitely flipping out, and like there was younger kids too, like probably like 12 or 10, and they were like, oh man, and like he did, like they were like, oh damn, they know a lot of the lore because they were excited at certain parts and they were talking about it towards the end. So I'm like, okay, some serious young Sonic fans here.
It's interesting to think of where they could go. As much as I actually did enjoy the human characters in this movie, I also am like, please don't please don't have us save the Green Hill Zone, like small town again in part 3. Like, if anything, if you're gonna spend more money on part 3, let's go to other planets. Like, because then at least because he has that whole rings that grow big and become warp points. So it's like, okay, there's sort of like you're in, because they already have Mushroom Hill kind of in this movie. Yeah. It's a little more like extreme, but it's like there's your sort of in to start going to like the crazy Sonic zones. And it was kind of something I kind of was hoping maybe they do a little more of in this movie, because like they really brush over Tails' backstory. Like you see Tails for like a half a second sitting in a chair in front of a computer, and that's his home planet. Like, but they never actually show what it looks like. They never say, is he from a planet of foxes or whatever. Like, the only thing that you know is that he has 2, and it's just unusual even for his home planet. But it's like there's like no info on that. You don't go back to the planet with the owl lady from the first movie. Yeah, when Sonic came from. You don't go back there. We don't see what really happened there. We see a tiny little segment where like Knuckles is talking to his dad in like a flashback, but like it's strange that it's like, okay, this movie did a good job of doing the globetrotting thing, but it's strange how they're still kind of avoiding going to other planets as much as possible. The beginning again. There's a little bit at the beginning. I enjoyed the very 80s style. I forget what the thing is called, where you just have like the marble rolling and it knocks over all this stuff and it causes the thing to do another thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So I forget what the name of that Rube Goldberg machine or something. So they have I love how they have an intro with that, with just a bunch of weird mushrooms and shit. But like it's brief and we don't spend a lot of time off world, even though they keep talking about galaxy wide problems. So I'm like, okay, for Sonic 3. Maybe for Sonic 3, let's go to these other worlds. Because then that gives us a easy opportunity to bring in those wacky Sonic zones. Let's have them go to a casino planet and just have it be better than Last Jedi. That would actually be incredible if like, or again, they could just do Vegas, and which would be fine. Just play the damn music. But yeah, like spoiler talk again. I actually still really enjoyed the movie. My only real gripe is the music. I hate the fact there's no Sonic music, and I hate the fact that like there were very clear indications where
it could have happened.
It felt like the filmmakers were intending to put Sonic music or Sonic jingles, and they didn't do it for whatever reason.
They were doing that one guy.
Yeah, like, like why? What? I don't understand. I set this up for you, but but like like the dynamic of all the characters actually works super well, and that's probably why this film works, because no one's so insufferable to the point of wanting to claw your eyes out. Like Sonic's good, Tails is really good, Knuckles is great, Robotnik's good, Robotnik's great. Like the other human characters, all the parental units, they're actually fun. They get funny things to do. They have good lines. So yeah, it's one of those like, okay, this was a real solid win. Strangely enough, like I guess.
Out of all the ones we've seen, like Detective Pikachu and Sonic 1, the latest, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, like Detective Pikachu was fine, but
like, it wasn't our bag. We dabbled in Pokemon and it was pretty good. But yeah, I think this,
this was like interesting, because this felt like this felt like a home run. Where it felt like Detective Pikachu and Mortal Kombat were still good, like the new one, were good movies, but something just felt a little off. There was something just slightly off with them, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Yeah. I still don't really know what it was about Detective Pikachu. I don't know what felt off about the movie. Mortal Kombat we talked about. Like there's like just having an OC was just kind of like
Yeah, an OC,
and doing Goro dirty. But it's absolutely up there with the best of the best as far as video game movies go.
And both of them happen to be Sonic. So Sonic 2 for 2 though for sure is wild.
That is a very wild thing when you really think about it.
Not only having a great video game movie, but then an awesome sequel is wow. It is,
like having an like. I didn't think the first Sonic movie I'd come out saying, "Oh, that was a pretty good movie." I didn't think that. I would never have thought that, and I wouldn't sit there and go like, "Oh, and then Sonic 2 was even better. It was great." Like, what is going on? So, oh my God, that's right. There's a good point someone brought up where they fist bump a lot in this movie. They bring that up a lot. And
Yeah,
yet
yeah.
that is the name of the song from Sonic Forces. One last fist bump, and they never actually play that song in this movie. Like, why? How does this happen? Like, how does this happen? Good luck, Mario movie.
It's gonna see. We know nothing of it. It would have been a great place to show the trailer. You know, hey, you watching Sonic? Well, guess what? Here's the Mario movie.
How weird is it going to be? Because I know there are game composers who fought to try to get the Mario movie and didn't get the gig. And part of me wonders now, I'm like, can you imagine if they do the Mario movie and they don't have any of the Mario music in it?
You know, they got 21 Savage or something like that, or fucking Mario. Like, oh god.
I mean,
no!
it is Illumination, so I'm kind of like, man, are we prepared for a Mario movie that's going to have Ariana Grande and
Christina Aguilera or some shit like that?
Who's that one?
We don't even know like these new singers now. We're old.
Yeah, there's that one singer. She's brand new, and God, I forgot her name.
Cardi B.
No.
No.
No, there's like that one new singer, and I was just kind of like, is she on bath salts? And people are like, no, she's straight edge. And I was like, like someone who's like
Olivia Rodrigo?
No, Billie, I think Eilish or Eilish, whatever.
Doja Cat?
there's this one.
What's that one girl where she looks kind of emo? I don't even know. Billie Eilish.
I heard her song for the first time ever. I remember thinking like, is she on bath salts? Like, and people are like, no, she's straight edge. I'm like, she doesn't do any drug, any alcohol, or anything. I'm like, what? I'm like,
what?
I'm like,
Billie Eilish.
Does she just need a long nap or something?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? So I'm so out of it. That's how old I am, and I'm sitting here like, why aren't you using Sonic music?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. We'll see. Like, because every trailer we saw before this was like, here's this movie, and then it had because
it's a Sonic movie, we got a lot of we've got mostly all kiddie trailers for the most part, and it was kind of like, man, you could definitely see where like the quality in some movies was far greater than others, and then there was like Paramount who's like, we don't have any other kid movies, we don't have any other movies, period. What are we gonna play? Top Gun.
Yeah, right. That was the one that was like it was all these kids movies that are just Top Gun, and I saw Top Gun. I'm like, damn, okay, it looks kind of cool.
Because it's a Paramount movie, and it's the only other thing they fucking have. And they've literally been sitting on it for like 2 or 3 years because of COVID, waiting to release it. So, that was weird. But yeah, like there was like that Nickelodeon like Samurai Cat movie or something, and it looked awful, and the Minions movie looked, I wouldn't pay for it.
Looked like a Minions movie.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be paying money for it. Like we didn't get any Disney or Pixar, I don't think.
No, yeah.
I don't even know what they have coming out.
There was the bad animal movie.
Guys. Yeah, Zootopia with an art style.
Yeah,
movie.
Zootopia.
That one. And we got Spider-Verse. We did start off with
Spider-Verse, which is cool.
Yeah, it was like the first trailer was like the old Spider-Verse trailer, which is kind of like, well, that's going to be better than every other movie trailer we see, of course. But But yeah, like actually, that's a really good point where it's like Paramount is kind of seems like they're committed to at least theater releases. Sony is obviously, and it's kind of interesting because Disney found huge success with streaming and Kanto and Turning Red, and some of the Pixar and Disney Animation were kind of like upset about that, where they were like, it feels like our movies.
They didn't even charge for those. Those just came out.
No, they didn't charge for. But like Disney found that was kind of like a huge boon for them. We're kind of like, because Encanto had this weird thing where it released around Thanksgiving or something, and it kind of did numbers, but then they released it for free on streaming on Christmas, and all of a sudden the songs exploded on YouTube. The numbers went up. Everyone went crazy. So it was like this thing where it's like people aren't really going. Like people are going to theaters to see Spider-Man, and other things. But
Yeah, I
but
think
like
now, like there's certain movies that people they're not going to the movies for now. It's like,
yeah, and that's
I
kind of
know.
unfortunate, but it's also kind of like, well, you are charging $15 to $17 here in California for a movie ticket, so that doesn't help it either, personally. So, but it was kind of it is kind of interesting to see how like there are still some people who are kind of like, only in theaters Across the Spider-Verse Part 1,
only theater. Yeah,
and
and it
do you-
those can, but like I'm surprised at like the Pixar stuff. Pixar films take tons of years, tons of money, and like okay, it's here in our streaming service. I'm like, wow.
And Pixar's not happy about it. Like they've been very vocal about how upset they were about Turning Red getting shafted like that. And I'm just kind of like, if I had kids, I don't want to take them into a fucking dirty ass theater this quick either, personally. But I don't know. It was
dirty as fuck, man. I was leaving popcorn all over the floor. I'm like, who is this? Who are you people? Who taught you?
Yeah, right.
Were your parents are here? I've talked to both of y'all. There's like so many times we saw popcorn all over the fucking place.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, man, if my mom was here, you get a shoe in your face.
Hell yeah. What the hell? Pick that shit up.
So yeah, I mean, and it was a nice theater too, but like it was a Sonic movie, a lot of kids, but strangely enough, the loudest and most obnoxious people in the theater were of course like the older teens.
Yeah.
Like those were the ones who were obviously the worst. So, like some kids came in, like we had a couple kids in front of us, and they were actually quiet all the way through until the very end with the shadow tease. And then they're like, "Oh fuck yeah!" Well, they didn't say "fuck yeah," but like they said it in their hearts.
Yeah, they were just like, "Oh!" They were.
Yeah, and then like that was the only time I even vocally heard them. But like they loved the movie, you could tell. But it was like the kids are better behaved than the teens. Like this is why I say like we need to have like some like island or something. We just like send all the teens off to this island or cryogenically freeze them. And when they hit 18, we'll thaw them out.
Yeah, we need that for Disneyland.
Puberty is such a mess to go through. So yeah, love the movie. Otherwise, though,
oh yeah,
would recommend. Would see.
Let's watch it again.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it again. Even like
if like Max like hey. But Ripley's still a little too young to sit through a whole entire movie. But if Ripley was like 4,
if she was
Ripley was like 4 or 5, and like Ripley's like, I want, hey, we have time, and Ripley wants to watch. Yeah, we'd watch it again.
Yeah, well, okay.
Under 2, no child is sitting still in a movie theater.
Of course
no
not.
Matter
Which is why you shouldn't bother.
Yeah. Even if it was Coco Melon the movie, they would probably like. Coco Melon the movie would be 45 minutes, and that's about it.
And I had that fear because we were getting through, like we were sitting. Our third trailer was wrapping up, and I'm like, okay, it's quiet now, but I'm like, please, for the love of God, don't be like this thing where like we maybe make it to the end of the trailers, and then all the kids are like they've already lost their attention, and they're already kind of like going, and this was just going to be a loud, and it wasn't. So like we had a number of family units. Not a lot, but we had a couple. I don't know, about a few probably, and they were all good. And like I said, the most was just like I saw. Like I didn't even hear the kid, but I did see them fist pump. When Supersonic came out. So it's kind of like the kids were fine actually. It was the weird teens making the weird noises behind me. That was the problem. If you want to ruin a movie, bring a toddler or a teenager.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, this was a great movie. This was the Avengers moment, I feel, for Sonic fans.
Already in the second one, yeah.
Yeah, or at least like the Iron Man moment, or something like that. So to me, and take it as you will, to me it was about on quality par with the first Avengers movie. That's probably because like I said, I've been there. I think your mileage will vary because I'm a guy who's been with Sonic from the day he was introduced to the world. So I have a little bit of a different history with it. But as far as that all goes, like, great fun adventurous movie. I have nothing to complain except the goddamn soundtrack.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. There's gonna be so many 35 plus, like, because saying this, Sonic came out early, but no, yeah, I honestly I can't complain. Like, everything was done well. Sonic parts done well. Human parts were done well.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest triumph of the movie. Actually, is that the human parts were not awful. They're actually fun.
Yeah.
There's your triumph. Like, not only did we figure out how to nail Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, we actually figured out how to make the humans not, funny and fun as well. So, yeah. So highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.